The John Calipari news has shaken up the college basketball world, and the guy that all Hoosier fans are talking about is Boogie Fland. Could he flip to Indiana?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. Appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Well, thank you so much to all the everydayers, those of you that come back each and every day. Truly make this your first listen every day and coming back, making this a part of your rotation. So thank you so much for that. If you're on the audio version, subscribe on there if you can. Hit the bell and notification so you never miss a new episode. And if you're on YouTube on the video, hit the like button. Helps it get out there. Spread the word to us. Send it to your family and friends. And also be sure you hit subscribe as well, as we are pushing even farther towards our goal of 2,200 subscribers. Yes, we flew by 2,000, flew by 2,100. Let's get to 2,200, okay? So thank you so much for that. Boogie Fland is the name that everybody is talking about in town. It's the guy that Indiana fans, all you've been commenting in my last couple of videos on YouTube and tweeting out and everything I'm seeing on boards and social media, everybody keeps saying Boogie, 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 right? That's what everybody wants to know. The very, very highly rated recruit that is signed with the Kentucky Wildcats. Everybody's trying to figure out where this guy's going to go. We'll talk about that on the show today. Plus, the Hoosiers also reached out to an Oklahoma State transfer in Javon Small, so we'll talk about him today. Plus, some football news as well. Curt Cignetti had to kind of get onto the team this last week. We'll talk about that as well. The John Calipari news has just completely changed the landscape of college basketball, because we all know that Kentucky has some of the biggest recruits in the country. Just look at their list. Carter Knox, who's number 20 overall, he has decommitted and walked away. Jaden Quantaints, who has moved into the number 8 overall player. Okay, Billy Richmond, the number 22. Boogie Fland, number 26. Cyril, number 46. Travis Perry, number 73. Like, that's absurd. And so everybody in Lexington is trying to figure out, okay, who's going to stay and who's going to go? Everybody in Fayetteville, Arkansas is like, okay, who's going to follow him here, right? Who are we going to get out of those big-time players? They're not all going to stay, and they're not all going to follow. The majority are going to go, and they're going to go to somewhere completely different. And the big name that I think we are all interested in is Boogie Fland. And you look at him as the number 26 overall player. And here's what sources are saying right now, according to 24/7 Sports. It says Boogie Fland indicates that he was completely blindsided by the news on Sunday night. Completely blindsided by the John Calipari news. That's not good. As of this moment, the plan is to evaluate how this process proceeds and to focus on the Nike Hoop Summit that's taking place this weekend. Fland is flying out to Portland soon and is planning on finishing his high school career strong. Then he will regather once he comes back home. Fland once considered Kentucky to be his dream school. Well, I'm going to say that if you're committed to a coach and you were not only committed, you were signed and completely blindsided by him stepping away from the program, I'm going to say that's not a great thing for that program and the program that the coach is moving to, aka Kentucky and Arkansas. I would imagine that Boogie Fland would probably not hang around for either one of those. I think there's a better chance of him staying at Kentucky than there is for him to go to Arkansas, because like that article mentioned, Kentucky is considered to be his go-to spot, his dream school, the place he's always wanted to go. And if you were blindsided by a coach leaving, I doubt you want to follow him to the next program, because he kind of just hurt you, right? He kind of just literally blindsided you. Or you may not want to be around that at all because you don't know who the next head coach is going to be, and maybe you're not going to vibe with the next head coach. That's where Indiana steps in. That's where us here in Bloomington have to step in and say, oh, I'm sorry they hurt you. I'm sorry that they didn't want you. I'm sorry that they didn't take care of you. Why don't you come up here to another big-time brand and a big-time program? We'll take care of you here. Why don't you come be the superstar here? Already got one coming in. We already got players here, and we got more coming through the transfer portal. Why not come here and be great? That's what Indiana's pitch has to be. If he does, in fact, leave, and that's what we're all waiting for right now, is Boogie Fland to make that decision. And it's going to be, he said he wants to finish out the high school season in his career and then evaluate. So a couple of months, could be sooner, could be longer. He doesn't have all that long, though. He's got to figure this stuff out and get to going. And so I don't think it's going to be all that long. I think he's going to do his basketball summit with Nike, and then I think he's going to go home and he's going to try to figure this thing out right away. And look, as is a lot of these players that we've talked about when it comes to the high school ranks and the transfer portal, we will not be the only ones involved here. Everybody in the country is going to be in on this guy. And if anybody else decides to bat out too, like a Carter Knox, who is the brother of Kevin Knox, who of course is playing in the NBA and played under John Calipari, the number 20 player overall, he's already said he's backed out. He's gone. So I think that's going to be more of a domino effect. Could the Hoosiers be in on that? Maybe. I don't know. But I think more people are looking at Boogie Fland because of what the history is there, where Indiana stood there, and what the possibilities could be with him being in Indiana. I don't have to tell you how great this would be. I don't have to tell you what kind of an impact Boogie Fland would make if he walked in the door at Assembly Hall right now. He would be the best player on the floor, without question. And Indiana could use that. Not that they don't have good players, not that they don't have good ones coming in, but this guy is a difference maker. There's a reason that he was one of the most highly recruited guys in all of the country. And Indiana has a chance to go find him and go after him if he decides to walk away from Kentucky, which I think he probably will. I really do. And talking with my good friend Lance Dahl of Locked On Kentucky, he says he thinks the entire class is probably gone. Like 90 to 95% of them are out at Kentucky. That could include Boogie Fland. And I think Indiana would go after him. And you know what? I think Indiana would have a chance there too, to sell all those things I talked about and become a legend at Indiana if Boogie Fland decides to come here. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, the Hoosiers did reach out to somebody else in the transfer portal by the name of Javon Small, the Oklahoma State transfer guard. We'll talk about him and what the possibilities could be of him showing up in Bloomington. We'll have that for you coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and the NHL, my favorite time of the year. And it's baseball's now in full swing. And FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. You can't beat it. FanDuel is the place to be. It's quick, it's easy, it's fun. I use it all the time. My friends use it. Everybody I know has started going to FanDuel. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on the app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. That's FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON at FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. The Hoosiers, outside of the high school things that we're talking about, still continuing to be active in the transfer portal when it comes to reaching out to guys and being involved and just trying to get their foot in the door with as many guys as possible. And another guy that they've reached out to is the Oklahoma State transfer, Javon Small, who reportedly has heard from the Hoosiers. averaged 15 points a game at Oklahoma State a year ago. This guy can play, man. Here's some of his stats. All right, 6'3", 195 pounds, so pretty good size for a guard. I wouldn't say he's undersized by any means. I think he's an average size nowadays and possibly a little below, but I think he's right where you want him to be. He's got 1 year of eligibility, ranked number 9 among all players in the transfer portal, and the number 1 point guard. Yeah, the number 1 point guard in the transfer portal right now, according to 247. Indiana has reached out to him. Averaged 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal while averaging 33 minutes a game. 33 minutes a game. And he's a player, man. He is an absolute player. He shot 44% from the field, 37% from 3 on 5 attempts, and 86% at the free throw line. He was an all Big 12 honorable mention. How in the world would you not want this guy? How in the world could you not want somebody like Javon Small? He can shoot, he can score, he can dish it, he can flat out play. And he's considered the number 1 point guard in the transfer portal. Now, here's the problem. The Hoosiers are not alone here, which they never are, right? They never are. Indiana goes after the best players, and so does everybody else. And speaking of everybody else, holy smokes, how about this list right here? You ready for this? Texas, Kansas, Louisville, Michigan, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Kansas State, Mississippi State, Texas Tech, Indiana, LSU, Georgia, Villanova, Xavier, Arizona State, Cincinnati, TCU, Texas A&M, Georgetown, Miami, and Baylor. Oh, my goodness. That's a lot of schools, and that's a lot of big-name schools in there, like Texas and Kansas and Louisville, right? And, of course, Indiana, Villanova. I mean, just so many big-time programs in there that all could use a guy like Javon Small. And you go and watch his game, and he can just flat-out score. He can shoot really effectively. Something that we just continue to talk about on this show is the fact that we have to go get shooters. Imagine how much better we would be if we had a guard that could shoot effectively. And that's been something that we've had conversations about for all of these guys that Indiana's reaching out to. Have you seen that trend? Have you seen what Indiana's doing here? They're reaching out to guys that are actually going to help you score and elevate the offense and not just be taking up space and running back and forth for fun. These guys can score. They can play. They can elevate your offense. They can actually help you win games. And I think Javon Small is a guy that can do that for you. Now, is he considering Indiana? We don't really know. Like, this is all really new, and he has so many schools to consider. Who knows? But the fact, again, that we're reaching out and going after him, I think is a really big deal. It shows that this staff is at least trying. They're at least trying to go and get some help. And if you hit on just 1 or 2, that's all you need. The guard spot is not as bad as we think it is, but it does need some help. And Javon Small could absolutely do that. Somebody that's going to give you double-digit points every night. I don't know if he'll score 15 if he were to be here because of everything else that you have, but double-digit points, 5 assists, couple rebounds, good on the defensive side, and can shoot really well. Yeah, I'll take that all day long. I mean, this guy is shooting at a really high rate, 44% from the field as a guard. That's really good. 37% from 3. Make him a sniper. And then 86%, almost 87% at the free throw line. That would be one of the best, if not the best, on the entire Indiana team right now, last year. So how could you not want this guy? He is so good. Problem is, he did get that season-ending leg injury. So now you got to feel like he would kind of come in and have to kind of bounce back from that, right? And he played in South Bend, right? And learning about this, reading about it, he is a hometown of South Bend, right here in the state of Indiana. His freshman year at Riley High School, transferred to Franklin Central in Indianapolis for his sophomore, junior year, and then was moving around a little bit as well. So he is from the state, which is good, which is, I think, something that you have to hit home. That's what all of this is about. right? When you walk into these guys and you reach out to them and if you happen to get those meetings, you have to find the angle. You have to find the advantage on what separates you as a program from all these other places. And Indiana could press home on that really hard. Press home, right? Press on the fact that you could come home. You could come back to the state of Indiana and you could play in front of whoever you wanted to. If you've still got people around here, come play for the premier program in your state. And then you start looking around, you say, okay, here's what you can do for us. Here's how we can help you. Here's what we're going to do to try to get you to the next level. Now, I know it starts to get murky when you're reaching out to all these guards and you're trying to get guys in the high school ranks still last second, and you're trying to bring in a lot of talent. Not that I think we're going to have this problem, but what happens if you do get overloaded with guards? Okay, fine with me. I know a lot of you have been a little concerned about that and more wanting to go get some forwards and big guys. I'm with you. I think that's very important. But there's never a bad sign. There's never a bad time to have too many guards. Like, we went from not having any guards. We'd love to go and have too many. Believe me, that's a wonderful problem to deal with as a head coach and a coaching staff. Are you going to make them all happy? No, not necessarily. And you know what? That's kind of the dirty part of the game is you've got to bring in as much talent as you can and then figure out what you can do with it rather than trying to hit it exactly what you want and the exact number that you quote unquote need and then hoping that it all works out. Don't you want to have some backup? Don't you want to have a little flexibility on, oh, wow, we brought this guy in, but man, through the summer and into the season, it's just not working out here. Good thing is we've got this guy. You'd rather have that than, wow, this isn't working out. And we have nobody. We have nobody to help us out. That's what I'm saying here. So, look, we've reached out to a ton of guards in the transfer portal. And Javon Small is one of the best ones. If you get a few of them, that's okay. If you get one or two of them, that's okay. Bottom line, though, you have to go get them. You have to bring them home. And Javon Small could be that guy. He's a difference maker. He's an absolute difference maker on this team and would elevate the team and the program right now. 1 year of eligibility. I know that's scary to some. I know that's not attractive to some, but I don't care. At this point, Indiana cannot be picky on who walks in the door based off of eligibility because you just got to get talent. You got to get this roster where it needs to be right now, start winning games, then you can recruit at a higher level, recruit those high school guys, and that's how you sort of protect your longevity is going to get the younger guys to come in and be the future of the program. Coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, final segment, we'll flip over to football as Curt Cignetti had to kind of tell the team, hey, focus back up a little bit and get right in spring ball as it's kind of winding down. We'll talk about what happened and what he had to say coming up in just a second on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Look, we've all had that ticket buying experience on other sites, right, where it's just a pain. It's been miserable, whether they were bad tickets, whether they were too expensive, whether you didn't get them in time, whatever the case may be. You don't want to have to deal with that when you're going to sporting events and comedy shows and theater and concerts and all those different things. Luckily, that's why all of us at Locked On have switched over to Game Time. Game Time has last-minute killer deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. And right now, perfect time to buy baseball tickets around the MLB, go to postseason games for NHL and NBA. Game Time is the app that you need to use. And we've been talking here at Locked On as we've all gone to this Game Time app, and it's incredible. We all genuinely love it. Last minute tickets. You walk up to the arena, to the venue, wherever you're going, and they've got tickets still available. And you can see your view. The prices are right what they say. What you see is what you pay. That's my favorite part. They're not trying to hide those fees. They're not trying to put it on the back end where you don't see it. No, what you see is what you pay. got to try out the Game Time app so you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Final segment here on the show. Appreciate you making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every single day. As we flip over to a little bit of football news, Curt Cignetti had to get onto his team a little bit on Tuesday. They all had the day off on Monday because of the solar eclipse that was going on. Classes were let out, so they didn't have practice on Monday. And Curt Cignetti said, yeah, I was kind of worried going into that 9th spring practice on Tuesday. He was worried about what their focus was going to be and whether they were going to be ready to play. Well, he's a longtime coach. This isn't his first rodeo, and he was exactly right. He said they came in and was not good and was not happy with it at all. Cignetti said, I knew it would be a challenge this morning, and it was. Cignetti said on Tuesday, I still think there's probably a good core nucleus of guys that came out with the right mindset and got better, but too many didn't. And we can't have practices like that and get done what we want to get done. So I had to send a pretty stern message afterwards. He says, I think today was a challenge because the players had a little time off. They had the whole day off yesterday, and I don't know what went on downtown, but I'm sure that a lot of people had a good time. And we haven't seen the players since the scrimmage last Saturday. And yeah, it's not good. Apparently he was laying into him pretty hot, and understandably so. I mean, when you're trying to come in and literally rebuild a program, start it from the bottom, yeah, you've got to have some high standards. And for Curt Cignetti to come in and know on this particular day that it was not going to be good, right? He knew it was going to be a struggle, but it was almost kind of a test for his team to see, okay, they've got a day off. They have the extra day off. What are they going to do with it? How are they going to respond? How are they going to treat this? Well, turns out most of them didn't treat it the right way, but you know what? You can learn from that. And we don't know what he said. We have no idea what Curt Cignetti had to say here. Excuse me. But he could use this and say, look, you guys screwed up. You didn't treat this the right way. If you don't do this how we say you're going to do it, we're not going to be successful here. And, you know, it's a scary thing because you want this team to be better and you want them to get better, but not every day is going to be an improvement. Let's just be real. It's really hard to truly get better each and every day. But I think what Curt Cignetti's wanting to do here is at least try. Let's at least try to get better every day. And he did say that there was a group, a little core, right, that probably came in with the right attitude and were focused and ready to play. But the majority of them were not. And I think a lot of that is still rollover from a year ago, 2 years ago. The previous Indiana football program, the previous staffs, the previous mindsets of this team. I just think that's all stuff that he's having to constantly try to flush out. But isn't it nice to know that there's a guy at the helm who is holding that high standard, that is caring more about the program than it seems like other coaches have in the past? I think Curt Cignetti wants this place to be great, and I think he believes it can be on the football side. And it's days like Tuesday that, yeah, he probably felt like he failed that team. And he also probably felt like the team failed him. But you can all learn from that. And you grow and you get better down the road. And the next time something like this happens, it won't be a solar eclipse, but something like this where you get that extra day off and you don't have to go practice. Go work out. Go do something and then come in, refocus, re-energized, and ready to go and show your coaches that you want to be there and you're ready to play and compete. That's what he was wanting to see from the guys, and sounds like that's not happening. There's a long way to go until August. Believe me, there's a long way to go, but they've got to get this cleaned up. And spring is coming to an end. You'll have summer where they can't do a whole lot. They'll have very little contact. They'll be basically working out on their own. Curt Cignetti has to know that summer's crucial. He's got to tell the guys, look, I can't help you here. You've got to do it on your own. And then when I see you this fall, let's come in and be ready to go. If that works out, if that's the case, I think Indiana will be fine. But it's good to hear. I hate that this is how it happened. I hate that this news is coming out, but I'm glad to hear that he's pressing down and he's laying down the law. He's saying, no, we're not going to act that way here. We're not going to do that here. We're going to be better at Indiana. If you don't want to be better, then get out, because we're going to hold a much higher standard in Bloomington than what we've seen in years past. And that is what a good head coach does. That's how you come in and flush it all out, restart, and rebuild a broken football program. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot. If you're on YouTube, like the video, send it to everybody you know. Be sure you hit subscribe as well. Just let you know every time we post a new video. Also, if you're on audio, you can do the same thing. Subscribe there. Turn on our notifications so you never miss a new episode. We will be back tomorrow. Who knows what basketball news is going to drop between now and then. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode as well. Until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.